Be a part of the best pro wrestling podcast today by supporting the Going In Raw Patreon. You can enjoy access to the live taping of the show, exclusive merchandise, and patron-only episodes, and so much more. Support Going In Raw today. Click the link in the description. Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome to Going In Raw Countout, the only pro wrestling countdown show that can be found right here at youtube.com/Steve and Larson. And anywhere fine podcasts are available. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and the little notify bell next to it so you know whenever there's a new Going In Raw.
Yeah.
And, we're also at Patreon at patreon.com/Steve and Larson. We have many wonderful reward tiers. What's best value, Larson?
$5.
$5 a month. Gets you 3 live streams, early access to the review show, the old pay-per-view review show that we do on Sundays, and
so much more.
The bonus episode.
More.
Stuff like that.
We're also at Pro Wrestling Tees at prowrestlingtees.com/goinginraw. Hopefully by the time this episode goes up, Saturday, we'll have 11 designs. 12.
I'm going to do one. You're going to do one.
Okay.
Right now, currently, as of filming this, we have
10.
10.
10.
10.
10.
Wasn't there a wrestler back in the day who had like their catchphrase was like 10? There was like, I'm the perfect 10. They were like 10, 10. Who was that guy? Was that who was that Dan Spivey character? Waylon Mercy? Was it him? Was it Waylon Mercy the perfect 10? No, he was like Bray Wyatt. Who am I thinking of?
Ty Dillinger.
Who?
He's on SmackDown still.
We're not here to talk about Ty Dillinger and lost wrestlers. We're talking about Money in the Bank because
yes, tomorrow Sunday, is Money in the Bank.
Ooh.
Stacked lineup this year.
Be sure to watch. If you want somebody to watch it with, you can watch it with us. We're going to be doing live reactions to it.
Correct. So last year, we counted down the best and worst. Back then, we were doing top fives. Money in the Bank cash-ins.
It's a work in progress, always.
I know.
Stephen Larson.
So since we can't redo that list already, we thought we would count down not just the best cash-ins, but the best Money in the Bank winners. And our criteria pretty much is what was their title reign like after they cashed in their Money in the Bank briefcase.
So here's the top 10 Money in the Bank champions.
Sure.
I think I was peeing earlier, and that's the title I came up with. But I thought I had one more word in there. Top 10 Money in the Bank cash-in champions.
Okay.
Because they're the champions who cashed in, and they're the
Yes.
best.
Yeah.
Because some are bad.
Yes.
Some are good.
Some are good.
Here's the 10 best.
10 best.
Number 10.
10.
Randy Orton.
So Randy Orton won Money in the Bank 2013 in June of 2013. And this was all in the build-up to Daniel Bryan's leap to the main event.
Oh, yeah.
Because
It's like Gato was booking this stuff, but it was just accidental.
yeah. So the crowd was embracing. They had embraced Daniel Bryan for years. I mean, Team Hell No was exceptionally over.
Oh, yeah, big time.
After they broke up, he really vaulted up to the top of the card.
Yeah, big time.
There's an episode of Raw where John Cena, I believe the whole Raw locker room, which I guess at the time was the entire WWE locker room, because they were doing the super shows back then, were on the top of the ramp, and John Cena was going to announce who he was going to face at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
And he said Daniel Bryan.
I choose you.
Yeah.
Just like Wiggum's kid.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyways, so Randy Orton won in Money in the Bank in June. At SummerSlam in August, after Daniel Bryan beat John Cena
In a really good match.
in a really fantastic match where Bryan went over clean, which John Cena's not going to put in just anybody over clean.
Also, Triple H was the special guest referee during that match, which should have told us something.
Yeah, I know. He did the old horseman thing where once you think he's a face, he'll screw you.
Yeah,
He'll
like Arn did.
Yeah, like Arn did with Dustin Runnels.
Yep.
We learned that recently. So anyways, yeah. So it was heartbreaking because we thought this was going to be Daniel Bryan's big crowning moment. I mean, he had won. We're going to talk about his own cash in later on.
Yeah.
But we thought this was the crowd was behind him, and he had all the momentum going, and Cena put him over cleanly.
Yep.
So this is it. And then, which was brilliant. It was so brilliant. Triple H delivers just sends him straight to hell with his pedigree.
Well, Orton comes out, and Daniel Bryan, if I remember correctly, turns to Triple H.
Yeah.
At which point Triple H pedigrees him.
Yeah.
Orton comes in, pins him, new champion.
Orton.
Randy Orton. So This naturally started a feud between Daniel Bryan, Randy Orton. They had a match at Night of Champions, September's pay-per-view. Daniel Bryan won that match, but Triple H nullified the decision because he said referee Scott Armstrong counted the pinfall too fast.
Yep.
So he said, doesn't count.
No way.
Vacated the title.
Okay.
Bryan and Orton wrestled again for the title. Hell in a Cell 2013. Orton won. Orton unified the WWE Championship and the World Heavyweight Championship
by beating John Cena at TLC.
Correct. And then Orton held the unified championship up until WrestleMania 30 when, in dramatic fashion, Daniel Bryan became the champion.
Overcame the reborn evolution.
Yep.
Batista and Orton. So, this was kind of one of those things where, number one, Randy Orton was motivated, so that was good. They were doing the authority thing. I think this was was this the first time they sort of dubbed it the authority?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And it was kind of perfect because Randy Orton, he had been around. He had probably a million trillion heavyweight championship runs. So for anybody to sort of, if you're gonna have Daniel Bryan, super over Daniel Bryan, crowd firmly behind him, beat anybody for it, it would be Randy Orton. Randy Orton's the perfect guy to do this. So this was, in terms of being the perfect heel to get Daniel Bryan over in the way that he did, combining that with Batista and Triple H, that entire storyline, this was an incredibly successful cash-in and subsequent storyline.
Yeah, I mean,
related to that.
his Orton's title reign may not have been successful unto itself, but in terms of how it related to the larger story,
him
Daniel
being
the
the appropriate piece of the puzzle,
it was a
for
tremendous
an amazing
success.
Yeah, absolutely.
Huge success.
For sure. Number 9. Kane!
Yeah, Kane won Money in the Bank in 2010, the very first Money in the Bank pay-per-view.
Yes.
Standalone pay-per-view. Prior to this, of course, Money in the Bank ladder matches happened at WrestleMania. He won Money in the Bank. He cashed it in that night on Rey Mysterio for the World Heavyweight Championship. And, of course, he immediately went into a feud. Well, he had a feud with Mysterio briefly, and then immediately got into another feud with The Undertaker.
The Undertaker.
So for the better part of summer and fall of 2010, it was Kane Undertaker again.
Yeah.
Like it was 1997 all over again.
Oh, yeah. Great. Kane's kind of just on here for his longevity.
Yeah, he held that belt for 154 days.
Yeah. Do we know who had the WWE title? Which was sort of, by this point, WWE title was prime title. And then this was the one that all the other guys who you kind of figure should maybe have a world title run had. Like Del Rio had this title a lot because nobody really wanted that WWE title on. Whenever Del Rio had the WWE title, it felt very like transitional.
In 2010,
probably a lot of Cena, I'd imagine.
Sheamus, Orton, and then someone we'll get to later on this list, The Miz.
Oh, right. Okay. The Miz had it in 2010. Was that? Oh, that's when he fought Cena?
No, he cashed in as well. I believe there was 2 Money in the Bank ladder matches, one for each title.
Oh, right. Okay. But that's when Miz had it. That's when he went on to fight Cena?
Yeah,
Okay.
at WrestleMania. Yes, we'll get to that later.
So anyways, going back to Kane. So, again, like I said, longevity. Nobody really... I honestly was kind of half watching at this point.
Yeah.
So, the fact that he cashed it on... Was this like one of the first times it was cashed in? Was there anything special? Like, it was the first time it was cashed in on the same night?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's cool.
At the time, it was
That's a pretty big surprise when that happened.
Yeah. And I don't know if Ambrose beat this last year, but it was the...
quickest cash in?
Yeah, the record for quickest cash in. I think it was 47 minutes.
That could be because I looked at... Oh, that's interesting because I looked at it with Money in the Bank 2010. And, yeah, this is... I mean, the World Heavyweight title at the time was such that it was middle of the card because Sheamus and John Cena fought in the main event in the steel cage for the WWE Championship. Sheamus won. And but 3 matches prior to that was Kane coming out and defeating. Yeah, so that was the first actual match of the night. That wasn't a dark match, was the Money in the Bank match. Then there was a 5-minute women's match, a 5-minute tag team match, and then was Rey Mysterio versus Jack Swagger, which was 10 minutes. And then Kane came out in less than a minute, beat Rey Mysterio. So that was a very fast cash in, right?
Yeah.
That was very, very fast. So yeah, and then there was like 2 more matches, and then one of those was the other WWE
when the Miz won it.
Okay, the Miz won it. Nice. So good job, Kane. Good luck on your run for mayor of whereversville you're running for.
Somewhere in Tennessee.
That's correct, and good luck with your insurance agency. Number 8. Sheamus.
So again, this is kind of like Orton's situation, where it's not so much the title reign itself that was impressive. It was the role Sheamus played in storylines that was impressive. I remember around this time when they were really trying to get
you called this completely
Reigns
correct.
over.
Yep.
Especially
Take your victory lap.
Especially after Sheamus won Money in the Bank, and we were all, why are they putting Money in the Bank on Sheamus? Doesn't make any sense.
Only one reason.
And I said, there's only one person that Reigns can face that'll help him get over, and that's Sheamus, because no one likes Sheamus.
The funny thing is, I believe you actually called this in advance of Sheamus winning. I swear to God, it was like 6 months prior to this.
I don't remember.
That you started jokingly saying Sheamus should beat Roman Reigns for the title. Or if they have Roman Reigns beat Sheamus for the title, it'll get Roman Reigns over. I'm almost positive you said, and then it ended up happening. That sounds right to me, because I remember being like, yeah, well, somebody's listening, because Sheamus is terrible, and the only guy that has like Sheamus heat in the company, that is X-Pac heat, is Sheamus.
Yeah.
And sure enough, they milked that for as much as they could.
They really did.
He was preening for the crowd. There was the "you look stupid." They made him look extra stupid with his little weird
he had braids in his
beard braids and stuff. It was so dumb.
Yeah. So Sheamus won Money in the Bank 2015. And then after Seth Rollins blew out his knee at a house show, they vacated the title and had a tournament for it, the finals of which took place at Survivor Series 2015. Finalists were Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose.
Mm-hmm.
Reigns won, held the title for 5 minutes and 15 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Sheamus cashed in for the WWE title. Sheamus only held the belt for 22 days, but on that 22nd day, something nearly miraculous happened.
It was insane. It was crazy.
Roman Reigns got a Philadelphia crowd to pop huge for his win when he reclaimed the title from Sheamus. It's because it was like on that one magical night, WWE found a way to book Roman Reigns properly.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe just because he punched Vince McMahon.
Yeah, well, it was this whole sequence. So remember, there was that one. I forget which pay-per-view it was. Maybe it was that one. I don't know. When he wasn't Money in the Bank when he destroyed Triple H after the fact? Didn't like Sheamus cash in on him, and then Triple H comes down, and Roman Reigns completely destroyed Triple H.
Yeah, he did around this time, yeah.
And everybody started. It was like 48 hours. It was that, and then the Raw afterwards, something like that. Maybe it was like over a week. I forget what it was. But during that sequence, it was like he destroyed Triple H. He went on a rampage, Superman punched Vince McMahon,
and then won the belt.
He was doing everything we wanted him to do. He was just, and that's how they should have been booking him the entire time.
Yep.
And not just this guy who's like sleepwalking his way through victories.
I know. And then 2 weeks later, that's what we got again.
And that's how it's kind of been since then. Like we've seen ups and downs, and it's funny because I've kind of noticed in the ether of things, like here and there. Like there was one article from I don't know where it was, but it was like, Roman Reigns is quietly putting together the best stretch of matches in his career. And then, I mean, I know he's sort of a company guy these days, but Bring It to the Table guy, Pete Rosenberg was saying how many great pay-per-view matches does this guy have to have before people get behind him. I don't really think that's a valid point, to be honest with you. Like, it's not like he's having great. Look, man, we just watched Dominion the other day. It's like there are some great pay-per-view matches right there.
I mean, he has had some very good pay-per-view matches. I mean,
his matches against AJ Styles were fantastic.
With all our criticisms of Roman Reigns, one thing we credit him for is that he works really hard in the ring.
Yeah.
You can't knock the guy for not trying because he tries.
And we can't. I mean, the thing is, we can't really fault that they have a long-term plan in terms of him fighting Lesnar at Mania. We don't want that path to be from A to B.
Yeah.
We want that path to have a lot of twists and turns and have the Universal title go to a couple people who we'd love to see it on.
Or see Reigns lose some matches.
Yeah, exactly. We want
face some adversity.
We want a dramatic build-up.
Yes.
So, yeah, I don't know. But he's just been boring since then. But yeah, for one magical, like 48 hours or whatever it was, he was booked to perfection, and the crowd responded in kind.
Yeah, and Sheamus, while he had a short reign as an obvious transitional champion, for those 22 days, he played that role perfectly.
He was effective.
He made those Sheamus 515 shirts and all that.
Yeah, it was all terrible. It was so bad.
But it worked.
But it worked. It got Roman Reigns over.
Yep.
I don't know if there's anybody who could do that right now. I don't know if there's anybody in the company who's so like people just so like that entire League of Nations was just people besides Rusev that like nobody really wanted to see ever. Like nobody really wanted to see Alberto Del Rio. Nobody really wanted to see Sheamus, and nobody really wanted to see Wade Barrett. As much as I love Wade Barrett, he was just there.
He didn't even really wrestle when he's a member
No,
of the League
he
of
really
Nations.
didn't. And he was all thin. It was all just kind of weird.
I'm trying to think of anybody else that could play that Sheamus role these days.
Because even Sheamus can't play that role anymore. He's really good as a heel.
I'll have to think about that.
Yes. Number 7. Dean Ambrose.
So he won Money in the Bank last year, cashed it in on Seth Rollins that very night after Seth Rollins defeated Roman Reigns, the WWE title, because Roman Reigns was just about to get suspended for a wellness policy violation.
Correct.
And I think we were both pretty excited when Dean won. I think we both called it.
Yeah.
It seemed pretty obvious because he had a really good match against Triple H leading up to WrestleMania 32. He had a decent Intercontinental title reign. He was awesome in the Shield. We were excited to see what he could do.
Yeah, sure.
With a huge opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he won. We were excited. He ended up being the number 1 draft pick for SmackDown in the brand extension draft that happened about a month after this.
Well, everything was great. It was weird. Everything was great with him until, and it was pretty close after because Money in the Bank was in June. The draft happened in early July.
Mid-July. I think it was July 19th.
Okay. Oh, there you go. And so everything was like really kind of exciting for Dean Ambrose as champion up until the draft, up until the brand split. At that point, who did he face?
It was Dolph Ziggler.
Oh, that's right.
The thing was, it was like they had that match. What was it?
Six-pack challenge on the first episode of SmackDown.
To determine the new number 1 contender. And I don't think anybody expected Dolph to win. He won, and his first promo afterwards was great. He was doing really good promo work.
Yeah.
Following that match, leading up to SummerSlam, but I felt like Dolph kind of outperformed Ambrose on the mic for the most part in their feud, and their match was so lackluster.
Yeah. There was no. Well, the thing is, there was no. If the match itself, because the lead up, as great as Dolph was, I never really gave him more than a 20% chance to win.
Well, even that's being generous.
No, I know, but I thought that his work was so good on the mic that I was like, well, anytime somebody outperforms their expectations, you got to give them a little bit of a chance. Oh, maybe they'll be recognized. Maybe this is something they're going to look at and they're going to say, oh, we might want to run with this. Like, I feel like Jinder Mahal, when he came back, like he sort of outperformed his expectations. And so they're like, oh, well, we want Buzz in the India market. That's, advantageous. We have this guy. Let's go ahead and roll. And Dolph, I thought, okay, maybe, just maybe, they understood that Dolph was very quickly reaching the point of no return when it comes to believability in the main event scene.
Oh, yeah.
But I thought that he still had I thought this was his last chance to maybe, if they put that title on him, maybe let's see if we can extend that window.
Yes.
But their match was so lackluster at SummerSlam. It was
not good at all.
It was like, okay, well, there's no way.
We considered including Dolph on this list for his own cash-in in 2013.
Right, which was really exciting.
The cash-in itself was, but his title reign ended shortly or abruptly because he got concussed.
Yeah.
Dropped it to Del Rio. They made him a face, and then he seemed to lose all his momentum. Whether that's strictly because of the concussion or not, who knows? But it just seemed like his title reign and his push went nowhere.
Yeah, and then once it was so weird. Once, like you said, when they entered in that feud, Dean versus Dolph. Like there was any number of other people. Who else was in that? I'm trying to remember who else was in the 6-pack challenge.
I'm sure AJ was.
AJ, Baron Corbin was probably in it.
Was Cena in it?
Was Cena in it? Maybe. I don't know. Bray was in it. Bray had to have been in it, I think. But it all of a sudden it felt like they had zero direction for Dean Ambrose, especially after SummerSlam. they just had zero direction with him. And then there was all those weird things about like him being quote unquote lazy.
Yeah.
Like Stone Cold awkwardly called him out for resting on his laurels. And Dean sort of seemed taken aback by that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know if that's like a thing backstage. I don't know what that is. But it really just seemed that he was like, they sort of played him up for a comedy act. Anyways, he held on to the title for 84 days and he lost it to AJ Styles at Backlash 2016.
Yep.
So we saw
it was No Mercy, the next pay-per-view.
The next pay-per-view was No Mercy when he was in the triple threat with Cena and Styles.
Yeah.
Styles ended up retaining. That was actually a really good match.
That was a good match. That was a lot of fun. So Ambrose has kind of been in and out of has been Intercontinental Champion. He and AJ had another really good match at TLC last year for the title.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's been the title picture since then.
Yeah.
Predominantly, he's just been the Intercontinental title picture.
Which I think is a solid place for him.
Yes.
I'm enjoying his work with The Miz right now. I feel like Dean Ambrose, if he has somebody who's going to work with him, then I think he's good. I think he's fun. I mean, I don't know if I'm ever going to be like the biggest Dean Ambrose fan.
Yeah.
But because I kind of feel like we've seen
my
potential graph. Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen his ceiling for the most part, but we haven't seen a singles competitor heel Dean Ambrose yet.
Yeah,
we haven't seen that yet.
That's true.
So I'm kind of holding out hope that once we see that, we'll see, that he can take it to the proverbial next level.
Yeah, I always thought that was like one of the weaker things about his, because I was a fan of the WrestleMania build with him and Baron Corbin, but then in retrospect, it was like, why is Baron being the real lunatic here, pinning him under a forklift and whatnot? Why isn't Dean getting really crazy with Baron?
I know.
That was sort of, it's funny because you take for granted how sort of. Like Dean, they just play him up as, hey, he's the cool guy, but he's not he's not really the lunatic, and that's his title.
That's what all his T-shirts say.
Yeah, exactly. Number 6.
6.
Rob Van Dam.
So RVD won the Money in the Bank ladder match at WrestleMania 22. And rather than cash in an opportunistic fashion,
this was great.
Yes, he scheduled his title bout against John Cena at ECW One Night Stand 2006.
Right. This is the second One Night Stand.
Correct.
In the last.
Man, that match was outstanding.
It was an outstanding. The crowd was insane. And Cena, 1 year after winning the world title, or after winning the WWE title, was for most crowds, for 99% of the crowds, hot. Supremely hot. There had not been a back. This was the Backlash before the Backlash had started. The crowd was eating Cena alive. Chants of "F you, Cena."
There was that great spot where he'll take his shirt off, throw it in the crowd. How many times did the crowd throw it back in the ring?
3 times,
3 or 4 times.
Yeah, just threw it back at him.
It was great.
It was fantastic,
and
Cena,
he
was eating it up.
Yeah, Cena, to his credit, he played whole thing up.
He played it up.
That's the closest we've gotten to heel Cena.
Yeah, it was great.
So RVD won the WWE Championship that night from John Cena, and
he was super over.
Yeah, he was.
He was holding simultaneously the ECW and WWE Championship at the same time.
Yep.
It was It was when they were kind of getting ECW right. They were kind of lightly touching on it here and there. It was really, and Paul Heyman was involved.
Yeah.
It was really, really good. He was super over, and then 22 days later,
he got busted. He and Sabu were driving through Ohio, I believe. Got pulled over. Got busted RVD got busted for marijuana and Vicodin possession.
Yeah.
And so he had to drop the belt. He dropped the belt to Edge. July 2006 on Raw, and then dropped the ECW title to.
Well, it's a big show.
Yeah, and then after that, he was suspended for 30 days without pay, and he never really got back into the WWE title picture, at least.
Yeah. That is like one of the biggest what ifs. Like how big could he have got? Because he was so popular. He was so popular.
Well, when we watched Invasion, that pay-per-view, he was over huge then.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, because what's funny? Like he had sort of been, there was the 1997 ECW Invasion, and he had wrestled a couple matches for WWF, and that's why the crowd at that pay-per-view we saw, the ECW Barely Legal,
yeah.
The crowd started to turn on him. They were turning on him because there was rumors that he was going to go to WWF. And so the crowd was well versed in RVD.
Yeah.
And man, he was so good.
He was
so
good.
And he more than so many other people. More than I'm trying to think of anybody else who had his level of guys who you watch in the ring, then you hear them talk on the mic, and they are 100% themselves. We kind of say that about Chris Hero these days.
Yeah.
But RVD, there was no character there. It was all just him, and this guy was so relatable in terms of who he was.
Yeah.
But then you'd watch him in the ring, and it was insane.
He'd do this otherworldly stuff.
He'd do the stuff nobody else was doing.
Yeah.
And there was something so captivating about that. And the fact that the WWE put the title on him against Cena at ECW, that's the kind of fantasy booking that you never, like these days, it was just like, oh, let's do it on WWE 2K17.
Yeah.
Because we know it's never going to happen in real life.
Yeah.
But they were doing that stuff back then.
Yeah.
And it was over. They were taking risks.
Yeah, they don't really do that anymore. No.
Number 5. The Miz.
So he won the WWE Championship Money in the Bank ladder match 2010. Kane won the World Heavyweight Championship ladder match.
Right.
The Miz cashed in on Randy Orton on September 19th, 2010 at Night of Champions after Randy Orton competed in the 6-pack elimination challenge. The Miz held this title for 159 days, the second longest reign of a Money in the Bank winner before dropping it to John Cena at Extreme Rules 2011. I don't know if history has necessarily looked kindly upon Miz's world title reign.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of that is because of WrestleMania 27.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because I feel like, again, sort of, I think mainly because, well, I don't know, it might have something to do with it. The Miz these days, he can try to be heel all he wants. The internet is they're starting to become Miz fans,
yes,
big time. And so I think retroactively, and I'm speaking specifically, I think it was one of the Adams from What Culture, or it might have been like a What Culture article that looked back on his reign fondly and said, you know what, this was actually kind of cool when maybe it was last year they did a video on cash-ins or something, I don't know. But they're like, you know what, the Miz's cash-in is up there because it was unexpected and his title reign was better than a lot of people think. I think a lot of people are turning back now because they're appreciating the Miz's work now.
Yeah.
And they're looking back on it. When I saw the CM Punk documentary, he kind of ran down the Miz as champion back then.
Yeah.
The roster seemed thin on main event talent back then. And I don't know. I look back, and on one hand, I can see that the Miz, here was my main problem with it. When the Miz came out at WrestleMania 27, these days when the Miz comes out, it's so intangible. When the Miz comes out now, it's there. He has it. He doesn't have to try.
Yeah.
He has it. That thing that you do, that thing that they do when they've been around for a while.
Yes.
And they've been champion. They know how to control the crowd. Miz in 2010 did not have that.
Yeah, not quite.
When you look at his performance then, when you look at not his in-ring performance, because that's always been whatever, but when you see him come down the ramp, when you see him holding that giant title, which looks too big for him.
It was great that he fixed the plate so it was an M.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little touches were
the little
nice.
touches are good. I mean, look, he did everything. I'll put it this way: he did everything expected of him.
Oh yeah,
he didn't have the experience, which was no fault of his own.
Nope.
But he came out, and it was just annoying to look at his face because you could tell he was trying to exude charisma and confidence, and it just wasn't there. So it didn't make him believable. That was my main problem with it, is I just didn't think of him as believable.
Well, and I think how he won at WrestleMania 27 certainly didn't help.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It kind of tainted the legacy of his run.
Yeah, but then, I always liked that they put Alex Riley with him.
Yeah.
I liked Alex Riley.
Yeah, me too.
I thought that, in terms of getting heel heat, I think he had it. Maybe he was just it could be that he was just doing a good job with me getting heel heat. I don't know. But yeah, it is funny because the main, as opposed to now, back then the main event scene was thin. I mean, it was 2010. You had Kane as your world heavyweight champion. And
well, it was Cena and Orton and The Miz.
Guys who, Cena and Orton had already been around for a very long time, so that was boring.
And Edge was still around.
Edge was still around, but he had been sort of in that main event scene already for 5 years. So
Punk was doing the Straight Edge Society stuff about then, I think.
Punk was doing really, really good work then. He was doing really good work. Yeah. Like he'd sort of moved out of that phase where people, when like he did. Let's see.
We'll talk about his.
We'll get to him later.
We'll get to him later.
But at this time, Punk. I mean, I think that his gripe was probably well founded. Like there's an element with CM Punk that we both sort of seen where it's like, well, certain aspects of him felt like he had a sense of entitlement that isn't always justified. That was, I felt, kind of justified. I thought that CM Punk going into WrestleMania versus John Cena, as we saw later, not too far later, was much more going to SummerSlam. Anyways. Could have been much more interesting than Miz versus Cena because I felt it was just like, I don't know, the same old thing. Like Miz didn't really have a lot of motivation to be a dick besides just being a dick.
Yeah, CM Punk fought Orton at WrestleMania that year.
Okay.
27. That might have been after Straight Edge Society then. I don't recall.
I don't remember either.
I don't remember if he was wearing the Nexus shirt.
No,
that was after that, right?
That was after.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that was after.
In 2011. So I think that might have been after Straight Edge Society. Anyways, moving on.
Number 4. Daniel Bryan. Yeah.
Yeah.
He won Money in the Bank in 2011.
Yes.
And I loved his cash-in was great. So the Big Show had just gotten done fighting. I want to say it was Mark Henry at TLC 2011. And when he cashed in on the Big Show, it was like, it was a very sneaky manner. Yeah, it was Mark Henry. Mark Henry came in as champion. Big Show beat him. And then Daniel Bryan comes out and in 7 seconds beats the Big Show. And it was the flukiest. And he started celebrating like he had just won the lottery.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. And so it was a heel turn, but really he was just a dick all of a sudden. It was fantastic. And it was like, you see this and you can't help, but it was one of those things when Daniel Bryan could never not be entertaining.
Yes.
And so even when Daniel Bryan was a heel, you loved to watch him because he was so damn entertaining. And one could argue that's not the ingredients for an effective heel. We have that debate here on the show.
Yeah.
What's an effective heel versus an entertaining heel?
Well, I think there's different kinds of heel, and you can have.
And there's a place for everything.
Exactly.
There's a place for everything. I totally agree because I wouldn't have wanted Daniel Bryan any other way. When he was a heel, he was fantastic. He was so great. But anyways, he won the World Heavyweight Championship.
Held on to it for 105 days before dropping it to Sheamus at WrestleMania 28 in 18 seconds.
Yeah, that's crap.
That's back when they thought Sheamus was going to be the guy, the man.
Guy. Yeah, exactly.
That didn't happen, did it?
No.
Instead, Daniel Bryan could have been the man.
Yeah.
Had he not gotten hurt.
Oh, here we go. So this is actually what happened for the cash-in itself. I kind of remember this. Let's see here. Big Show executed a KO punch to win the title from Mark Henry. After the match, though, Henry executed a DDT on Big Show onto several chairs, which then let Daniel Bryan come in, cash in on Big Show. I remember that Big Show didn't even really get a chance to celebrate. He got extra laid out by Mark Henry, and then Daniel Bryan came in and cashed in. And I like I said, I really enjoyed Daniel Bryan's run.
And after he lost the belt, we got Team Hell No.
Mm-hmm, that's right. Yeah,
and they got extremely over.
Oh, super over. Yeah.
And that of course led to his rise to the top of the card.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And all started cashing in Money in the Bank.
Cashing in. Yeah. Now this was also. I remember the next night after he won, it was sort of like heralded as almost like a new era type thing because CM Punk had won. Daniel Bryan was champion, and Zack Ryder, who had gotten over on the internet with his show, the Long Island ICE or whatever. So it was like, oh, wow, all the guys that internet loves, they're all champions now. And then we saw what happened with Zack Ryder. He was buried. And then Daniel Bryan, he had to,
take a Sheamus boot and lose in 18 seconds.
Exactly, yeah. Number
3.
Edge. You think you know me. You think you know me.
You think you know me.
Wow.
So Edge has cashed in Money in the Bank twice. He won the briefcase once in a Money in the Bank ladder match at WrestleMania 21. Cashed in on John Cena.
And he
January.
cashed in on Lita.
Hold on, we're not there yet. January 8th, 2006, after Cena competed in an Elimination Chamber match at New Year's Revolution.
Then bloody.
The week after, live sex show, Edge and Lita.
That's fantastic. Saw a nipple.
Probably Steve's favorite moment in WWE history.
Yeah, absolutely. Beats Hogan Andre, beats Stone Cold HBK. Live sex show.
But Edge only held the belt for 21 days before losing it back to Cena at the Rumble. So the short, brief run. But I believe that was the first Money in the Bank ladder match, and that was the first cash-in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was. It was because it was like, that was the cash-in that everybody realized, oh, Money in the Bank can be this.
Yeah, it could be cool.
It could happen anytime. It's
like
not
I
just
said, Edge has done some neat things.
Edge has done some neat things. Oh man, that's good. But no, I mean, because I think originally when you think of like Money in the Bank, people thought of Money in the Bank, it was like, oh, you had a contract, you go do your contract signing. It's like
you put it on the table for the contract signing. You
yeah,
open it
exactly.
Up.
And then
but instead, it could be exciting and dramatic.
You just like run out with a briefcase and you're dragging a referee along with you, and it's like, ooh, what's gonna happen?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In 2007,
this is the best. This might have been my other favorite moment in WWE history.
Mr. Kennedy hurt his arm, and so after winning the Money in the Bank briefcase at WrestleMania 22, had to give it up. So they had a match between Edge and Mr. Kennedy for the Money in the Bank briefcase. Edge destroyed Mr. Kennedy on an episode of Raw, absolutely annihilated him.
Well, the great thing is like he goads Mr. Kennedy within like a couple minutes to put his Money in the Bank briefcase up on the line, and then destroys him. I think before the bell rings.
Yeah, bell rings, hits a spear pin. That was the match.
That's so awesome. Oh, it's so great.
And then so Edge, whenever this was on Raw, Edge went to SmackDown to cash in the briefcase on The Undertaker, I think later that week or the next week.
Edge was just like,
he did neat things.
He was like, again, Edge was like the poster child for cool fantasy booking.
Yeah.
Like who just goes from Raw and then runs over to SmackDown and cashes in. That's fantastic. That's so exciting. That's so cool. He held it at that point for 70 days, but as we all know, Edge is literally, I think, the most decorated guy in like the modern era.
I think
WWE.
He's won the most belts of anybody in strictly the WWE.
Oh no! Okay,
I think
that
it's
sounds
like 33.
Right. Yeah, that's a lot.
He's won a lot of belts.
And he won Lita's heart from Broken Melody. Okay, so number two, CM Punk.
Again, 2 cash-ins. He is the only man to win Money in the Bank twice, and he did it in consecutive years.
Yeah.
First time, WrestleMania 24. He won it. He cashed in on Edge for the World Heavyweight Championship on June 30th, 2008 on an episode of Raw. He held the title for 69 days and then lost the belt when he was pulled from a championship scramble match.
Yeah, this was like...
when he was attacked by Legacy backstage.
He references this in his documentary as a definite low point in his career.
What was the explanation for pulling him from that match? Do you remember?
You mean in storyline or out of storyline?
Both. Well, no, in storyline, he was attacked by Legacy.
Right. He was
but backstage, why did they pull him from the match? That I don't recall.
I don't think he ever actually said the politics reason, like the backstage reason.
Yeah.
I think they just felt that they didn't. I don't know. Why wouldn't he have just lost the championship scramble? Like, why wouldn't he have just lost that?
Yeah, who knows? Anyways, he was replaced in the match by Chris Jericho, and he ended up winning the championship that night at Unforgiven 2008. A year later, Punk won Money in the Bank at WrestleMania 29. Again, for the World Heavyweight Championship, cashed in on Jeff Hardy, Brother Nero, after Hardy defeated Edge at Extreme Rules 2009. Punk held on the belt for 49 days before losing it back to Hardy at Night of Champions. And then Punk won the belt back at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
And then he eventually lost it to The Undertaker. 42 days later because Undertaker took issue with how he dressed.
Yeah, I guess, there is that, like, rumor, but not rumor. I thought it was, like, real, like, Punk even admitted or something like that. Like, Undertaker felt that Punk didn't dress like a champ. He didn't dress like a champion.
Because he liked to wear hoodies?
He liked to wear hoodies. But, like, isn't that all Undertaker wore when he was American Badass? Well, no, he wore, like, denim vests.
But I think he meant what he wore backstage,
when he was Big Evil, he wore a lot of hoodies. Did Mark Calloway wear like
Suits?
Gucci, Armani.
I don't know.
I don't know, man.
I don't get that whole story at
Probably
all.
just didn't like Punk. He was like, "Hey, Punk, let's go have a beer," and then he had to hear this dude talk for like 10 minutes about the evils of alcohol. Listen, man, I just want to go have a beer with the new champ. I don't know all that you just said. What is straight edge? Like a ruler? No, Mark.
Draw 4.
Yeah. Let's see here.
What are you looking up there?
Why? I'm trying to look up the CM Punk stuff.
Oh, why he was pulled from the Unforgiven match?
Yeah. Oh, here we go. No, it doesn't say. It says Jericho replaced Punk in the Scramble match after participating in an absolutely brutal war with Shawn Michaels. HBK and Jericho beat the hell out of one another, and yet Jericho emerged as the champion at the end of the night. Punk was told that the Jericho-HBK feud was being given the belt to give it more prestige. Jericho and HBK would go... Oh, so it was simply to put Jericho in the match to win the title. I feel like they could have done that with any of the other participants.
I know.
Though. Jericho and HBK would go on the following month at No Mercy to have reportedly the greatest ladder match Vince McMahon has ever seen. And it is damn good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird. They pulled the champion from the match.
It says, during his title reign on Raw, Punk was treated as the epitome of a guy carrying a belt. He was hardly treated as the main performer, was buried for heat after his defense against Batista at the Great American Bash, and only had a real successful title defense against JBL at SummerSlam. This is from Reddit. So who knows?
Who knows?
But anyways, I mean, he went on to, once he did the Straight Edge Society stuff, and then did
New Nexus.
The New Nexus, and then, of course, the scene of the pipe bomb, and then on, he was, freaking legend at that point.
Best in the world.
Best in the world.
Best in the world.
Speaking of best in the world, number one.
One.
Seth freaking Rollins.
Yeah, he won Money in the Bank 2014.
Yeah.
With the help of Kane. Cashed in dramatic fashion during the main event, WrestleMania 31. Left WrestleMania 31 with the World Championship.
And we left with smiles on our faces.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
Near as I can tell, he had the longest reign of any Money in the Bank winner who cashed in, 220 days.
Sounds right.
And he held the belt until he blew out his knee in a match against Kane at a house show.
Kane.
Title was vacated. Roman Reigns eventually got it.
Yeah.
But, Seth Rollins' reign as champion, long, a lot of fun, wasn't booked the strongest.
Yeah.
But he played the role of cowardly heel just about as well as one could hope.
Absolutely. The frustrating thing about it is that he was putting on during that, 15 pay-per-view in a row streak where he was main eventing. His matches were always terrific. They just booked him, like you said, a bit too weak. Like you can go to the the cowardly heel thing a bit too much, but it doesn't. Sometimes it just doesn't make storyline sense for a guy to be holding his own and putting on the best match
for 90% of the match.
For 90%
at the end,
yeah.
Just for something to happen that would require J&J to get involved.
If they had dialed back J&J by 20%, it would have been real. I mean, it would have been a bit more palatable.
Like they'd only interfere in desperate times, essentially.
Right, exactly. But that being said, by far, he had his best work on the mic when he was a heel. We both agree Seth Rollins is supreme as a heel. And it was just, he was always putting on amazing matches. You knew that the guy with the title was the best wrestler in the company. And regardless of how they were, booking him storyline wise, that never changed during his entire reign. And it was an absolute bummer to see him go out the way he did. And even to this day, he's huge. He's the number one face.
Oh yeah, on Raw.
On
easily.
Raw for sure. But to see him favor, I don't know. The knee storyline. This really creeps me out because you always focus on it, and then it's whenever he lands.
Oh yeah.
Whenever he lands from anything,
he really hasn't changed his in-ring style whatsoever.
He still does those. What are they? The sunset flip bombs. He still does that kind of crap. Yeah. No good. I mean, he wears 2 giant pillows on his knees.
Well, that's fine for impact, but if you're gonna, as he did at the house show, as he put it, land on his instep, and his knee just twisted in.
Ugh, God.
Knee pads aren't gonna do anything for that. You need braces.
Yeah.
So,
but he is having a terrific run right now as face. Be interesting to see what happens with him and Brock if they do come up against each other between now and WrestleMania.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. So, yeah, there you go. Top 10 Money in the Bank cash-in champions.
It's a lot of words.
Yeah, that's all right. Anyways, let us know what you guys think in the comments. And until next time, we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Some people are probably going to say Del Rio. Del Rio deserves to be. Didn't he cash in? He cashed in, didn't he?
Yeah, on CM Punk after
Punk.
Kevin Nash.
Oh, yeah.
Laid
That
out
was
Punk.
like the most transitional shit.
He was in contention. I thought about putting him on there.
Yeah, but no, I'm glad we didn't.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.